Hello and welcome to the Brand Disruptors podcast. I'm your host, Nia Lamont. And today I have with me Kenia Thompson. How are you today, Kenia?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing so well. So glad that you came. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So what I typically do is go through like a couple of like a 5 round questions, a round of questions so people can get to know you.
Okay.
And so we're going to start with, what is your mantra?
What is my mantra? So I have two.
All
The
right.
first one is nothing is impossible because if you believe it, it will happen. And the second one is less is more.
Ooh, I totally agree, especially with accessories.
Yes. Yes. Less is always more. Although sometimes, but we'll go into my favorite wardrobe and that's going to negate that, but we'll talk about that later.
All right. So then what 3 words would you say describes you or your brand?
Okay, so I think I am my brand. So 3 words that describe me would be authentic, relatable, and fun or funny. I think I'm funny. Not everybody thinks I'm funny, but whatever.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't, I haven't been around you enough to say whether you're funny or not.
Right.
But you're fun.
Yeah.
So
Okay, that's good. I'll take that.
yeah. What is your least favorite mode of communication?
So it's a combination of phone calls, which is weird, and emails.
Mm-hmm.
I'd prefer to see the person,
Mm-hmm.
and then phone calls. I would rather not have a phone call. I'd rather jump on Zoom or FaceTime or be in person. And then emails, I read into emails way too deep. I put a tone to every voice that I read. So it's just not the best for me.
Emails aren't my favorite either. I feel like if it goes beyond 2 paragraphs, it needs to be an attachment.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I get these long emails and it's just like getting a text that has more than 4 lines.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. All right. So what outfit makes you feel like a total badass?
So I have this jacket that is all sparkles. It's like Michael Jackson on crack. It is. I should have had it with me because it's crazy. It's like a disco ball, but I put this jacket on and nobody can tell me nothing.
Really?
And it is not less is more. It does not fall under that. It is all the things. But there's something about articles of clothing that you wear that just make you feel on top of the world. And that jacket is one of them. So.
Absolutely. And I don't think that people recognize that enough for themselves and probably don't get dressed in those things as often. How often do you wear your badass jacket?
See, and that's the thing. I should wear it more often, but part of me is a bit self-conscious. Like somebody's like, well, who she thinks she is walking around in a sparkly jacket like that? But I mean, it does keep me hot. So right now, clearly I'm not going to wear it, but let fall start bringing some cooler weather. I'll probably wear it a little more often.
Well, if we're both at that same conference in November, I'm going to be looking forward to seeing you in that jacket.
I'm going to put it on.
All right. I love it. I love it. Yeah. Okay. So what is an article of clothing that's just not you? Like, what would you never wear?
Oh, that's a good question. What would I never wear? So I love rompers on other people, but I look pregnant in a romper. I cannot carry the romper look off.
With a belt?
I've never tried it with a belt. I don't know. It depends. Maybe if it's a high-waisted belt, I don't know if that'll work. That still make me look like I'm pregnant. I don't know. I love rompers though. I think they look comfortable. I'll wear them at home, but to go out, like I see people dress them up and look real snazzy in them. That's just not me.
Okay. All right. Well, I love the fact that you wear it at home.
Yeah.
Wearing rompers at home, not just like any old digs. I love it.
Oh no. Yeah. I dress up at home.
Okay, girl. All right. So now, what are your brand colors and how did you choose them?
So my designer chose them. I just said I wanted colors that felt good. And anyone who knows me knows I love black. I wear black almost every single day. I will sometimes pair black with a bright color, but black is going to be part of Kenia. So I didn't want to choose the colors because I would gravitate towards darker colors. And, in marketing and design, that colors evoke certain feelings and emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So they had came up with kind of, I happen to have this here. It's a case. It's kind of like a teal color.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt good when I saw it. So it's teal, white, and like a gray.
Okay.
Yeah. And it felt happy.
Mm-hmm.
And that it just made me feel good. Every time I see it, it makes me feel good. So.
Well, I think that's exactly what it's supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So I want to hear about a time that you had some major disruption, whether it was, planned, unplanned, and like, what did you do to kind of like, how did you manage yourself during this disruption,
Yeah.
or a way that you disrupted your industry?
All right. So before going into entrepreneurship, I worked in nonprofit, in corporate, and my most recent job was at IBM. And I was happy there. I got to work from home. I was very happy, but I was very complacent. And, my kids were growing up. So my kids are 10 and 7 now, but most moms know how it is when you first have kids. It's good to have a steady job that you don't have to worry about, you don't have to think about. You can still be a mom, still make money, and still kind of climb that corporate ladder a little bit. And so going to IBM was like a heaven sent, and I was good. But then the kids started going to school, and I was like, okay, so what do I do now? And I started dabbling into, so my first career was news, production, TV. I wanted to be a reporter, went through all the ropes, never became a reporter, so then transitioned into marketing. And so over the years, I would always dabble back to production, to video, and being at IBM and working from home, I was able to kind of do that more.
Mm-hmm.
And I survived 3 or 4 layoffs at IBM. My whole team gone. I was the only one left. I was like, all right, we'll just keep pushing. But there were like inklings of, should you still be here? Should you still be here? And I always, wanted to leave, but I never had the courage to go out on my own. And one day my boss, who's now one of, turned friend, like best friend, she called and she said, you didn't make it this time. So I got lumped into a layoff. I got transitioned into a role because they wanted to keep me, but it was a business analyst role. Anyone that knows me knows I'm not a business analyst. It was horrendous for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was faced with the decision of, am I going to spend time looking for another job to serve someone else's agenda, or am I going to finally invest in myself and go out on this leap of faith and just do something for me? So last April was when I officially decided that I would no longer work for anyone else but myself.
Woo.
And I've been in heaven ever since. Life was, now that doesn't mean it's been easy. Doesn't mean it's been easy, especially with COVID and everything that's going on right now. But it's been the most freeing decision that I've made. And it disrupted my life for sure, but in a very forward moving, motion. So I'm happy. I'm finally happy in a space that is really uncertain, but I'm happy where I am. Yeah.
So what do you think you learned about yourself during that period? And like, it still feels like it's new too for you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What did you learn about yourself and the rest of the world?
Really going back to that first question of what's the mindset, the mantra is that nothing is impossible. It's really about how much effort you put into it and how badly you want it. People will tell you no, people won't like you, but there's someone that will tell you yes, and there's someone that will love you. And, it's about the community that you build. And if you show or exude what you want to receive, then it's bound to happen.
Absolutely.
So, nothing is easy, and you don't appreciate things that come to you easily either. So in order to really appreciate the business, where I am, where I'm going, I do have to go through a lot of trials and tribulations and difficulties and those no's in order to really appreciate whatever is down the road.
Yeah, to appreciate the yeses, to appreciate
Yeah,
people
yeah.
who really want to work with you and who are ideal for you. Because that's the other thing about being in business for yourself, right?
Yeah, yes.
You get to choose.
Yes, that is such a good point because we think that we have to take every job, and that like the first 6 months I was like, no, we need to take this, we need to take this, I need to take this. No, I don't. If this doesn't feel good, because I was taking jobs at work that didn't feel good, so why am I going to still take jobs for myself that don't feel good?
Girl, that's a
So,
word.
you know, if it doesn't feel good, it doesn't align with my passion and what I'm in business for, then I'm not the right vendor or supplier or contractor for you. And that's okay. That's okay.
I'm glad you brought that up. So, what do you do?
What do? I do a little bit of everything. So I still do work for the man, technically. I'm an adjunct professor, which I love. So I choose not to be a full-time professor because I don't want to hate teaching. So I teach at 3 different colleges and universities in the area. I teach all things communication, public speaking, interpersonal communication, workplace communication, internship class, intro to comm. What else? Oh, and a media and society class, which I just added. I'm enjoying that a lot. So I love the interaction with students. So that's probably one of my first passions is teaching. And then I kind of did cheat a little bit with my entrepreneurial journey because I teamed up with someone who already had a business.
Well, that's not really. You still have skin in the game.
A little, yeah, okay, okay. I still have skin in the game, yeah. So I teamed up with Kim Branson of Mastermind Productions as the director of communication and his partner in the business. He had been in business for, I think, right around 10, 11 years when I came on board last year. And we just kind of want to take it to another level. And so it was just him always doing everything. And because of my news background, I know how to work a camera. I know about lighting. I know about interviewing. I know about the production piece. I know how to edit. And then I know marketing. So that was kind of the benefit of joining his team or him, is to be able to help him do what he already does and then add on to what he does. And then I created Wordcrumbs back in 2005. It's been so long. And I hadn't really done much with it. But this past year it's been a focus. And Wordcrumbs is still trying to flesh out exactly how to even communicate, like your pitch, right?
Yeah.
But it's a communication consultancy where I assist professionals, leaders, or those who are aspiring to be leaders on how to just better communicate, be effective communicators. Right now I'm focusing on critical conversations because unfortunately,
Yeah, they need to be had.
even before all of this, right?
Oh,
This is why we're here,
yeah.
because we didn't know how to have conversations to flesh out our differences. And so now it's this tension, it's this fighting, and it's killing. It's literally killing us. And so those are the things that I want to kind of help others with. Understanding how do we communicate effectively within our circles, with ourselves. Sometimes we don't even talk to ourselves the right way. And so that's what Wordcrumbs is about. I also want to start doing facilitation leadership retreats once we get back to normal for corporate organizations, and one-on-one coaching for executives.
Yeah, and they're gonna need it. I mean, they're probably reaching out to people right now. So I hope you're definitely putting that Wordcrumb stuff out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for those of you who are interested in having her to help you with communications, especially around difficult conversations, and what do we call this? The George Floyd era? I don't know.
Yeah.
I really think that that's where we are right now, and I think that what you're bringing to the table and what you're presencing for a lot of people will help them to be able to understand others, because we all have our sides that we want to make sure we're right about, or we want to look good. And when you really just break it down to simple communication, we do get to have what we're actually striving for right now.
One thing that you mentioned that was key is understanding others. We think that when we have conversations, it's about us, right? Because we're talking, but so we're both in a conversation thinking that it's about ourselves. When if we could just stop for a second and listen, we can understand what the other person needs from us. And that's the most important thing in a conversation. It's not about me, the person who's talking, but it's about the person who I'm having the conversation with. So it's not about us. It's not about our needs in that moment. And that's where difficult conversations go wrong or go left, because we don't know how to listen. So.
That is a huge nugget that she just dropped for you guys. Like, we get to learn how to listen, because listening is part of communication too, right, Kenya?
Oh yeah, it's probably more like 80% of communication, right? There's the Moravian wheel that tells us how our language, our body language, our conversations, and what we say, how that makes up conversations and communication. And most of what is translated is by nonverbals, right? I can't remember the breakdown in the percentage. My students would kill me, but it's by nonverbals, body language, and then
80%, I think it's 86.
something. I don't want to misquote myself, and somebody he was wrong.
She's not saying that she knows the number of people.
Right, but it's body language. I mean, it's nonverbals, which is body language, how we say things, our tone, and then what we are actually saying.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I tell my students all the time, like, look at people's feet. Mm-hmm. When you look at their feet, you'll be able to tell if they're engaged in talking to you. Their feet are pointed toward the door. They're trying to get away from you. I was like, so if your boss is chastising you, you might not want to do that. You might want to control those feet. Right.
Most people don't know that though.
Yeah. Yeah. Joe Navarro. He's one of my favorite authors on body language for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure you teach your students all that too.
Oh yes. Yeah. Let's see how much they retain when they get into the workforce.
What would you want the audience to know about how you work differently? Like, how are you different from other communication consultants?
Yeah. I really take time to get to know the person. For me, relationship building is most important. I don't think, and this was even at IBM for me, that I could have an effective business or role without building relationships. I don't know what you need if I don't know you, right?
That's so good.
You can tell me these are my flaws, this is what I need work on. But if I get to know you, I can find out whether that's true or not. And as the expert, can really give you insight onto, okay, what you said does hold merit, but these are the things that I see. And building the relationship allows a sense of vulnerability, which allows trust, right? We're both having to be vulnerable, and that means I trust you and you trust me just as much, and that way we can move forward in a successful business relationship. Most of my business relationships have turned into friendships, because that's how much I value them.
Yeah, and I can see that about you, right? When people get into business relationships, they think they need to keep it strictly business, so they don't get vulnerable and they don't share themselves. And so I can see why you would have to, kind of educate them before you even start working with them, right?
Yeah. And that may work in other business types, right? I don't know though. I can't even think of a business or a role that it would work less effectively. But in what I do, communication is vulnerability. I don't know how else to say it. If I'm authentically having a conversation with you, I'm going to share pieces of myself with you, right? And if I'm a manager or a director at a company and I lead a team, that team does not want me to lead them or will not want me to be their leader if I'm not taking time to share pieces of myself with them. Now, that doesn't mean I got to tell you my whole life story and you got to know all of my dirty secrets, but I have to see some sort of genuine approach to our connection for me to want to have you lead me, right?
That's huge. I think that a lot of people think that the oversharing is being vulnerable, and that's how you get people to get to know you, when it's really not that.
No,
right?
The HR situation.
No, I think, and it's like on social media, sometimes people will overshare, right?
Yeah.
And in the face of, oh, I'm being vulnerable. No, the oversharing is almost like an attention seeking kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
I love the fact that you said that we get to really share ourselves authentically. And there's like, I'm sharing a piece of me, but it's not my dark and dirty secrets. It's more like, oh, I get nervous too when I get on camera.
Yeah.
You know?
It's funny. So you bring up the social media piece. I'm on social media, and most people are like, you should be a lot more active on social media for what you do. And I feel bad. I should be, but I'm not an oversharer. And I don't feel like if I shared everything on social media and then I meet you and share those same things, how authentic is that, right? So it's hard for me to share everything with everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So if I find myself in a space where I am sharing with you, I care, right? And so I have to find the balance of how do I put myself out there as an entrepreneur and promote my business and still be authentic, and not overshare and just, try to clamor for people's love and attention. And it's hard. It's a hard balance to have. But it's necessary though in genuine connections in business.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, you do that in person too. I mean, right now we're kind of limited, but the reason why I even asked you on the podcast was, we got to spend some time together. What was last week?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh my God, I want to get to know her more. I want to hear her story. I want to know more about her. And it was just because we were able to get to be in a place where we were both sharing ourselves. And I think that people underestimate what that's like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they do. I think a lot of people underestimate what that's like. It can be very difficult too, especially as women, I think, because there's this unspoken judgment. And I'm just going to say, there's this unspoken judgment that happens in a circle of women. And a lot of times we are afraid to be vulnerable and honest about what we're feeling, or, what we do, or what kind of mom we are, because we don't know how other people are going to take us and receive us. So, but in that space with you, it felt authentic enough for me to be able to just be vulnerable. I think I almost cried that day because I was experiencing a lot of things, Anyway.
Yeah, no, and I think it's good. I think that for this society, like, we've been taught that it's not okay to be vulnerable. We've been taught that it's not okay to cry and to emote. And as women, we've actually cut ourselves off. We've cut off a part of ourselves so we can be more like men.
Yeah, I know.
And like, we have so much repair to do for ourselves.
Girl, listen. I'm 37. And I am just figuring out who Kenia is. My family's from Haiti. Both my parents are from Haiti. And I grew up in that very strict household. My dad wouldn't let me cry. He wouldn't let me get up and explore anything. He wouldn't let me date. Like, there are all these things that I couldn't do. And, I went to college. I did all that, what I was supposed to do. And, I had 2 kids, got married, and now I'm like, who are you? What do you like? What do you want to do? And it's so emotional. It's so emotional. But just like I was saying earlier, every part of our journey is for something, because I kind of fell into communication as a result of going through 6 majors and not liking any of them. And hey, I'm here though, right?
That's right.
But the stories I get to share with my students of my journey, of the things that I couldn't do that I'm figuring out now, all of that was not even for me. It was for them.
Absolutely. Oh my God. I love that.
They're 18. So I teach some early college kids. So they're 16, 17, some are 20 something. And they're just looking at me like, I don't know, Mrs. Thompson. I have no idea. And I'm going to start crying now. I don't know why I'm here. And I've had kids who've tried to commit suicide. I've had kids whose families abused them and abandoned them, but yet they're still in these college seats trying to figure it out. And all I can give is my examples, and while they're not as traumatic, they come to me after class and they're like, thank you, because someone finally is listening. And I don't know why I'm here. I don't know why anything, but those reasons, that I share my stories, that I give them an opportunity to be heard. And that's all that matters to me. That's all.
Oh, I love that.
That's the authenticity, that's the vulnerability, that's the transparency that's needed.
Yeah. And I think that if we were all a little more transparent and vulnerable and authentic, we wouldn't be in the place that we're in now. And it's going to take a lot more people being authentic and vulnerable and not getting it right and messing it up in order for us to move forward, for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's hard though. And sad to say, it's going to take a lot more pain before it happens, before people realize how important it is for them to be that honest with themselves.
Yeah. I'm part of an organization that I'm having them look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why haven't we addressed this before?
Well, the thing is, you have to hold the mirror up to yourself first.
Oh, yeah.
I like to do that. They don't want to do that.
Absolutely. I had to look at myself and why I let that kind of stuff slide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And why I didn't speak up and why I didn't do some things. And then I was like, okay, you know what? Now is the time. You get to do it. And there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it all happens in time when it's supposed to happen. So we can't punish ourselves for how long it took or how many times we let things slide. We just have to be in the now and recognize, okay, I see it now. So what am I going to do moving forward?
Yeah, definitely. You got to have the awareness.
Yeah.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So tell us how people can work with you. So if somebody wants to say, Kenia, I need some communication help, how do they do that?
Yeah. So I offer a free 30-minute session which usually turns into an hour. It just always happens. Mm-hmm. But during this time, we kind of just talk about you, who you are, what your goals are, where you are currently and where you'd like to be. And then how we position all of that around your communication strengths and areas that you need to work on.
Okay.
From there, we'd set up a plan, whether it's a 3-month plan or a 6-month plan or a year, to how we can set goals and accomplish them. And it looks different for everybody because we're all so unique. It's hard to have a blanket, well, what does that look like? It really depends.
Yeah. So how do they get in touch with you? You said you were on social media. So where can they find you?
So primarily on Facebook. I do have an Instagram, but it's Facebook, Wordcrumbs, WORDCURMBS, or Kenia Thompson. You can find me. I think it's Kenia K's Thompson, CAZE, and Kenia is KENIA, not Y. And then I am on Instagram as well, Wordcrumbs on Instagram.
Perfect. And she's also going to be in the Freedom Lounge membership site. She's going to be doing a course for us in there. And I want to say you're going to be teaching and maybe answering questions in October, but we'll see.
Okay. All right.
Where we are. But I want to thank you so much for coming today. This has been quite the pleasure. And is there anything else that you want to say to the audience before we leave?
Just think before you speak.
Yes, that's a good one.
Yes. Think before you speak and think who you're speaking to.
Love it. Is that your tagline?
Is that my tagline? No, it's not, but maybe it should be.
I know. Maybe we just do a little bit of marketing here.
I know, right? Maybe it should be my tagline. No.
I like that.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kenia.
Thanks. Bye.